Do you want to speak now, sir?
I can speak now.
Please. And I got a Brianna Hosper too. Did you want to? That one said it was for the citizen comments. All right. Please, sir.
My name is Gerald Gorick. I'm president of Sons of Liberty. We drove 300 miles here today to protest against this, whatever you call this thing, Fufeng? Fufeng. Whatever. You smug asses stand up there and you do this to the citizens here. How rude. How do you sit there and deny the right for these people to have a vote, to have a voice, to have anything? The township should come before any city matters, and you reject the township's rules and laws? And you guys sit there and think you're the wise guys here? Yeah, you're being wise guys, all right. That's what you are. This is complete and total bullshit what you're doing to the people in your own city. And you should all be fired completely. I'm going to tell you something. A few years ago, you guys damn near lost your Air Force base. You fought hard to keep this Air Force base. And now you want to turn it over to a foreign entity, a Chinese company, and give them $82 million to do this when they're putting in, what, $14 million is all they're putting in? What's up with that? How? Why don't you use your own money? Here in North Dakota, we have a legacy fund. Very wealthy state. Why don't we use that money instead of bringing some foreign entity in here? And you bring it right next to the Air Force base so they can infiltrate everything that our military does? That's exactly what this is all about. If you guys can't see that, then you're working for the Chinese. And another aspect, another reason you should all be fired is there's no sense in any one of you sitting on a board when you want to promote Chinese government in our own state. You sit here and you put down a high-ranking official with the military? You think you know more than the military does what's going on? Who the hell do you think you are?
Mr. Gork, please address the board.
Huh?
Mr. Gork, please address the board.
I can address him. He is part of this, so I can address him too.
He's not elected. Please address
I could give a
people,
shit
please.
less. He's the one promoting this. I will direct whoever the hell I want to. You want to laugh at me? You want to laugh at me again? Laugh at me one more time. I'll come across this table. You shut the hell up. I have got the floor, don't I? Do I have the floor?
Sir?
Yes.
You are not allowed to disrespect and speak in that manner and threatening manner.
You disrespect the people in your city every day.
Sir, I'm going to ask so you can continue to speak, but you're going to have to tone it down.
Quit disrespecting me. Quit
Continue to
disrespecting
speak,
you.
sir.
You guys pull this shit, put a corn mill plant in here and give these people the money. Why? I simply want to know why. What's your skin in the game? Why do you want the Chinese here? I want every one of you to answer me. Why? Why do you want them here? Who wants to start?
Do you have any further comments?
Who wants to start? That's my
Mr. Gork, any
comment.
further comments tonight?
Nobody wants to say nothing? Nobody wants to give me an answer? Why? Because I'm just some piece of shit, lowlife? That's what you think of your citizens, because you won't give them a voice.
Mr. Gork,
He's speaking the truth.
please.
Huh? Listen to
Any further
the people
comments,
behind
Mr.
us.
Gork?
Why do you think
People don't want the Chinese here.
Nobody does.
Not next door.
Nobody in the state wants them.
Not in our town.
Nobody wants them in the whole state. Nobody wants it. We all fought to keep an Air Force base, and now you're going to let these guys come right next to it. You guys aren't using your heads. This isn't about some corn milling plant. We can build that ourselves on 12 acres of ground, and they got 370 acres. What do you think is going to happen with 6 million gallons of water coming in there? It ain't for corn milling. Think about it.
Thank you, Mr. Gork. Because we will have citizen comments later as well, but feel free.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm honored to appear before you. I'd like to thank Mr. Vane in particular for bringing up questions. It's very laudable. I hope with all my heart those questions are consistently honored throughout this process. I'm not a property owner of the annexation area. However, I am a property owner about a mile away in the second oldest part of Grand Forks. Fortunately, very near St. Michael's Church, which I hope blesses my property. With respect to the annexation, as a general rule, as I mentioned before, grew up in the area very close to where the actual office of Fufeng USA is. That's Wheaton, Illinois. We are always notified in my village alongside Wheaton of anything that occurs in our community, be it street cleaning or street widening. We don't have to own the property. In my case, we're adjacent to the street. We never, fortunately, had to worry about whether or not we owned part of the street. However, had I been more trained at the time, I probably would have thought of that. But when they widened the street next to us and took a lot of our property, we all just went along with it, probably because we felt we had no choice. But there is a very clear statute in this case saying that owners do own half of the road. But even if there wasn't, the question of notice is standard in communities. For minor activities, this is a major activity. This is an annexation. Not only of property, it's property that is going to be owned by a foreign entity, that's scheduled to be owned by a foreign entity, which has not come to pass yet, fortunately. But I find it appalling that notice is something that's treated with such completely lack of concern for these property owners. I don't know how you can even make these statements that notice is not important. I find it extremely insulting, as I find it extremely insulting that ever since my aunt lived here in the 40s and my mother, there's been ice on the street in front of my property, which has put life and limb in harm's way every year. And still, since Mr. Phelan was in charge of Public Works, that policy has not changed, and people still put life and limb in harm's way. And Mr. Phelan is now in charge of this project, which is supposed to affect our entire city. And as I fell on the ice, which Mr. Phelan's office never sought to remove, and none of the residents in this town are thought to be important enough to have salt or sand put on the ice in front of their homes, I don't see how that man can even be in charge of directing this project. The other thing I would like to correct while I'm up here is the fact that it has been stated numerous times by Mr. Phelan and others that we will not have Chinese employees in this Chinese plant because the State Department will disallow it. Well, that is just not true. I have a list here of the actual types of visas which the Chinese-owned company can apply for now for their unbuilt factory, okay? So the list of the visas that they can pick from include the National Interest Waiver, an immigrant visa for highly skilled individuals in fields that will benefit the United States. So as we all know, we already have an employment shortage in this town. We do not have employees to fill the jobs we already have. So any company, be it Chinese or whomever, if they come to this town, all they have to do is say, we don't have enough employees. We need to hire employees that are skilled in a particular field. This particular field will be running a wet corn milling plant. Allegedly, at this point. Who knows? They can decide to, I don't know, make jet fuel out of corn. And they can easily say to the State Department, we need these employees. We don't have enough specialized employees in Grand Forks. And the State Department, they could even sue for it. They can say, well, if you have no employees and you need employees, you can hire Chinese employees. So don't ever say to me or us again the lie that we can't hire Chinese employees, because that is a lie, because they can, and they will. And the second kind of visa that they can hire Chinese employees with is an L1A and an L1B visa. It's a non-immigrant visa for executives, managers, and employees with specialized knowledge of multinational companies. Then there is the J1 visa, a non-immigrant visa for students and trainees. And then there is the H-2B visa sponsorship, a non-immigrant visa for short-term non-agricultural positions. So please, spare us the insult of ever saying that they can't hire employees from China. And please, try to spare the residents of Grand Forks the insult of telling property owners of long-standing who own businesses they do not have to be notified of an annexation adjacent to their property. It's insulting, it's un-American, and it's, I believe, illegal. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Dr. Bartlett. Mr. Cadillac,
Hello.
please.
And everybody knows who I am. My attorney is here with me, and I wish for him to speak. But what you guys are pulling here is, you're pulling from strings. Because I'm going to give you a couple of facts, okay? 40th was moved. Because the line where 40th was isn't where 40th is now. That was moved during the dike. Part of my land was taken during the dike. But also, when they built the dike, they moved the highway. And the highway was moved onto my property. And it sits on my property because the county, and I got letters from the county, made me move a sign that sat there since I built my building. And they made me move it because it was too close to the center of the highway, which proves that the highway was moved. But you can get some surveyors or whoever you want, but you're not getting away with this. Mr. Ross? And please don't take the way I speak for him. I'm used to you people, he's not.
Good evening. My name is Ross Nilsson with Nilsson Brown Law. I represent Mr. Cadillac. Mr. Gosted mentioned the letters that we exchanged regarding his written protest. I haven't had a chance to review the legal arguments that he set forth, so I'm just going to stick with what I know here. It's our contention, we think the statute clearly provides that Mr. Cadillac does own up to the center line. The annexation by resolution statute in the Century Code clearly provides that there has to be procedural due process, that notice must be provided. It's a shell statute. It's not an option. One thing that's being forgotten here is that ignoring Mr. Cadillac's property, look at all the other properties that align Highway 81. By the resolution, that would not include those properties, and those properties haven't also been provided notice. They are entitled to procedural due process under the statute, just like Mr. Cadillac is. They haven't been given the opportunity to protest against this. So it's our contention that to the center line on both sides of Highway 81, the property along there is owned by those property owners. They're entitled to notice, they're entitled to the chance to protest under procedural due process and clearly under North Dakota law. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spicer, Allison.
Hi, Allie Spicer, 519 North Washington Street. I just have some questions. So you guys had met with Pottinger, correct? Pottinger? Bo, you met with Pottinger? Like
Do you
the
have some
military?
comments? Yes, we met with
I have a
Bobby.
question for you.
Yes.
Did you meet with them?
Yes, we did.
Okay, where's the paperwork
Where's the paperwork from what?
that you had met with them and what you
We've
discussed?
gone through another route to a CFIUS review now through
So
the attorney.
when will we get that so that we can see it?
Should be by the end of the month.
End of the month? Okay, so the same with the FBI meeting?
A report from the FBI meeting?
You had a
They're not-
meeting with the FBI?
Yeah, we had that
Correct.
month, well, more than a month ago, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll get all of that here soon coming up to see what they say?
I would imagine if the FBI has
Can you
something to say,
imagine,
yes.
or yes or no?
I don't speak for the FBI.
Okay. You speak for this project though, correct, most of you? A yes or no
Any
answer
further
for
comments?
once would be fantastic. We want that information. We have a right to that information.
Any further comments?
Yes or no?
Yes or no to what, ma'am?
Are we going to get that information?
If the information comes to us from the FBI, we will pass it along, just like
Okay.
everything else. Very good.
Thanks.
Of City Council, I just had a couple questions. I have sent the email to you, Mr. Gostet. Are you planning on answering those questions?
No.
You're not going to answer any of the questions?
No, because you're looking for legal advice.
No. I was clarifying, not legal advice. Okay, so the questions I have is, can the county people have a petition also for or against Fufeng or for Fufeng? That's not illegal advice.
I'd recommend that you seek your own legal counsel to get the answer to that, Mr. Coachman.
Okay, what about on the petitions that you have already done? Who authorized you to do those petitions?
Again, I'd recommend you seek legal advice.
Okay, who authorized you to have the law enforcement to work for you to validate the petitions?
My answer is the same, Mr. Coachman, seek legal advice.
Yes, so,
Mr. Coachman, do you have any comments, please?
no, I guess not, since I have sent emails to everyone on the city council, and only 2 of you responded, and 1 piggybacked. And if the city attorney is not going to answer questions that are general questions about the petition and how to do a legal petition, and what's the use? I mean, you're not helping the people. And thank you, Gerald, for saying what you're saying, because you proved the point. Just proved the point.
All right, any further comments under the public hearing?